All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about Terence Crawford might get one of his big wishes, a fight that he's been asking for. It's just not the fight that you might be thinking about. Keith Thurman returns to the ring, and it looks like these guys are on a collision course. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Before I get into the meat of the video, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, share, support the channel. Really helps the channel grow, and it would be greatly appreciated. We're going to talk about the welterweight division in this video, and a fight that my understanding is being eyed for the July timeframe. And this is from a source that I have, reliable most of the time. This may or may not be, extremely solid, but it is supported by what has been said by the parties involved. And that is Terence Crawford and Keith Thurman may be headed to a fight mid-year, which might be a precursor to the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight. And that has been signaled by the fact that Keith Thurman will be returning to the ring in January against Mario Barrios, who is moving up from 140 pounds up to 147 pounds. The same Mario Barrios that is coming off a knockout loss to Gervonta Tank Davis. So if you recall, maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, when Terence Crawford fought Shawn Porter, one of the things that Terence Crawford has said, and he's been very specific about, saying that he would like to have a fight with Errol Spence Jr. He wants to have a fight with Keith Thurman, right? And he mentions them both at the same time. Now, that is not me saying, for my Bud fans out there, that I believe that Bud is ducking Terence Crawford because he would want to have a Keith Thurman fight. It's just a fight that Terence Crawford has been talking about for a while. Keith Thurman, for his part, had responded and said that he would be open to a fight with Terence Crawford, but he needed about 8 months to prepare for the fight. But after that, he would be ready to go. Now, as we know, Terence Crawford is the WBO champion, and so he's toting a major championship belt. And so Keith Thurman, who wants to get back into the mix as far as championships at 147 pounds, the only option that he has, at least until 2023, is Terence Bud Crawford. So that pretty much works right with the timeline for both Terence Crawford and Keith Thurman. Because Terence Crawford, if you look back over the last couple years, I do believe Terence Crawford fought one time this year in 2021. He fought one time in 2020. But between 2019, 18, and 16, he was fighting 2 times a year. And if you look at the pattern that he fought in, I do believe the year was 2016, when he beat Julius Ndungo at 140 pounds and then moved up to 147 pounds. He fought in that July time frame and in the November time frame. So even though Terence Crawford said in his response to Keith Thurman that, why do you got to wait 8 months? 8 months from him would have been November, and then you used to get December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. You got the July time frame. He comes back in February for a fight that definitely for Keith Thurman should be a tune-up. Mario Barrios has never been at the weight class before. He's not necessary. I don't think he's definitely not a top-notch welterweight. He's also not somebody that is going to pound away to Keith Thurman's body. And so I think that is a fight that Keith Thurman should win comfortably. He should be able to outbox him. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he wound up knocking out Mario Barrios. Also, as far as this goes with Terence Crawford, it really does set up a scenario where Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., they can be lead-in to the fight between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. if that happens in the second part of the year. Because as we know, and I'm going to continue to repeat this, Terence Crawford going right into an Errol Spence Jr. fight next might be the wishes of Terence Crawford, and it might be the wishes of Errol Spence Jr., but more than likely for the powers that be in either Fox or Showtime and in the PBC, they're probably going to want Terence Crawford to be able to have, a lead-in fight where you could market that fight between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. for a longer period of time. And this is not an unusual thing. You saw it with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao. They built that fight up, marketing that fight for several fights until they met. You can call it like a mini tournament or whatever you have, but it's pretty much set right up for what Terence Crawford has been asking for. And so Terence, because again, Terence was just, to me, it sounded like Terence Crawford was every bit as interested in fighting Keith Thurman as Errol Spence Jr. And the benefit of him fighting Keith Thurman is that twofold. Is one, for Errol Spence, that Errol Spence Jr. will probably get his IBF mandatory out of the way. He did want to fight Yordenis Ugas for a unification fight with Yordenis Ugas, but Yordenis Ugas is significantly less expensive a fighter than Terence Crawford. And Terence Crawford said that he wanted 50. Terence Crawford behaved or sounded as if he thought the 40%, 60-40 split between him and Errol Spence Jr. was unacceptable. And considering he had 120, some people said around 100,000. I've heard as low as 100,000 pay-per-views for him and Sean Porter, up to 190. I've heard 135,000 from Ring Magazine. So, the people that are behind the scenes on that stuff are not going to be tremendously excited about the prospect of doing big pay-per-views with Terence Crawford until Terence Crawford does better numbers. I think that what will happen is if Terence Crawford fights Keith Thurman, that those numbers will increase for sure. Not because, and I will admit this, I've said this a bunch of times, but numbers are numbers at the end of the day. They are what they are. However, Showtime Showtime and Fox have done a lot better job promoting pay-per-views than ESPN has. ESPN does not seem as if they are really all the way behind the concept, and as displayed by the fact that they had it on ESPN Plus, and even to order to pay for that pay-per-view, you had to get a membership to ESPN Plus and then buy that, and you had to do it on the app. It wasn't available just regular through cable networks like Fox makes available and like Showtime makes available. You can go on Showtime and you did not have to have a Showtime membership to click and buy that pay-per-view versus the app that Terence Crawford was on before. A lot of people who are supporters of Terence Crawford brought that up when they were saying, you shouldn't judge his pay-per-view numbers, strictly by the number because of the extenuating circumstances around, the ESPN Plus app. And I think that is, that could possibly be the case. However, when people are sitting down there and they looking at what is actually the money that's actually been earned, you're pretty much gambling and saying, okay, well, maybe that's the case. Because honestly, Terence Crawford had been on pay-per-views before where you didn't have to buy the app. And that would be the Amir Khan fight and the Victor Postol fight, and it didn't sell on that. But I do believe that if he's able to get the Keith Thurman fight, that those numbers are going to go up. And it also on the same network allows, if he's on the same network, a Fox pay-per-view or a Showtime pay-per-view, more than likely a Fox pay-per-view, then you could actually have Terence Crawford ringside for the fight when Errol Spence Jr. is fighting and really create a build-up and create a buzz for the fight. But anyway it goes, Keith Thurman was very, very specific in saying, hey, I would love to fight Terence Crawford. I only need 8 months. Terence Crawford was very clear in saying he wants Errol Spence Jr. or Keith Thurman. So, where my guy is saying that he believes that is what they're thinking, and that is an inevitability. It is also supported by the things that both parties have said. So anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace. Make sure you hit that like, share, subscribe, and all that. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.